You just don't have the demand.
And welcome to what will hopefully be my atonement for the 10th anniversary episode last year, in which I went in search of 2 out of the last 45 or so known AM stereo radio stations in America. Last year, I managed to go out on the road for 3 days working with what turned out to be a partially busted radio. For a proper post-mortem of that radio, may I suggest V. Westlife's video from that August, in which he attempted to diagnose and repair it. He only pulled off a diagnosis. Anyway, right at the end of the year, I heard from the proprietor of WBGS 1610 AM, a Part 15 AM stereo station based out of Largo, Florida. He offered me another Sony SRF A100 to work with, and obviously he had the AM stereo gear to test with. So, coupled with a Japanese AM stereo radio sent to me by V. Westlife, incidentally, it seemed like it was time to retrace my steps from the year before and take another crack at the project. Just in time for my 10th How I Spent My Summer episode. So with that, we're on our way to Fairmont, Minnesota here, about 120 miles away from Archive HQ, to take another shot at KSUM 1370. And here we are again, nestled behind the rest area stop, the apparently very dinky state of Minnesota. Well, I've had KSUM on this whole time that I've been in Fairmont thus far, and it's the same crappy modern country music that I hate so much. But, my car's not AM stereo or anything, but it seems a little muffly. It doesn't seem quite the frequency response that AM stereo should be. But again, I could be just talking out of my you-know-what here. So let me get out of the car, find somewhere quiet to sit down, and we'll bust out the gear and we'll take a shot at this. Well, 1 year later, almost to the day, I believe, we are back at Gomsrud Park in Fairmont, Minnesota. And it's actually really nice out today. Unfortunately, the nice breeze that feels good to me is probably going to make a lot of wind noise on my microphone, but oh well, I'll try and cut as much of it out as I can in post. But anyway, we got 2 radios to test this time, and I definitely need to remember this. This SRF A100 was sent to me by Al, who runs WBGS, which is a Part 15 AM stereo station in Largo, Florida. So yeah, it's not as pretty as the other one, but this is confirmed working, and I fidgeted around with it at home. I can kind of force things to droop off to the left or right on AM radio on this thing, and everything lights up. It may not show up in the sunlight here, but it does, just trust me. And if you are a V Westlife fan, Kevin asked if I would send the one that the SRF A100 that Finn sent me last summer to see if he could fix it, and he could not. But as a parting gift, he sent me this Japanese market, at least, little AM stereo radio, and Chinese made though. And I only seem to get sound out of it, A, if I'm going out of the headphone jack, and B, if the signal is really good and strong. But, you know, Fairmont is not a big place. 10,000 people, 10,000 and change. We're nice and out in the open here. We're not sitting too low, not sitting too high. I think we're good to test. So with that, I got my field recorder ready to go here. I just need to swap out my microphone for the feed from the field recorder, and of course I will record a copy on the field recorder and splice it in post for the clearest possible sound. But really there's not much else to do except to take another crack at KSUM 1370 AM. Absolutely not my kind of music, but you know, it's something to test with. All right, give me a minute here.
When I was younger, I may have did some stupid things, even committed some crimes, but I am not a criminal.
I work for youth advocate programs, yeah. I was Tamani's advocate, helping him stay out of jail, stay in the neighborhood, and get a job.
As a little kid, I experienced trauma and I acted out. Made some mistakes, but I'm not a mistake.
As Jalen's YAP advocate, I'm always here for her.
YAP is a community-based alternative to youth incarceration and neighborhood violence. Youth advocate programs. Learn how.
Broadcasting from the Wild Rose Casino and Hotel Studio. You'd rather be here. You're listening to KSUM 1370 AM, 97.1 FM, Fairmont, Minnesota.
This is CBS News on the Hour.
Financial tips from Dave. You want to budget your money, but you don't know where to start. Try the 50-30-20 budget plan. Each month, you divide your paycheck into 3 categories. Spending 50% of it on things you need, like food and rent, 30% on the things you want, like new shoes, and saving the remaining 20% or using it to pay off debt. Dave is the banking app that can help you get up to $500 instantly with extra cash.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you're always looking for ways to position your operation to create opportunities and move on them faster. With Bank of America, you get access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2023 Bank of America, N.A.
Music everywhere, I can see us there. Things that tie us down will come back around.
Well, I'm a pretty happy camper right now. I think I'm going to call that a success. Now, it could be psychoacoustic. I mean, it is very windy out here now, so I'm not in a quiet environment, but I've tried to kind of cut my hands over my headphones and listen for discrete stuff, and I think I've heard enough. The last song that was on here seemed to have like pedal steel left, electric guitar right, some dual acoustic guitar action, one in each channel. So I'm thinking that might be a success. I hope it's not me just being overly optimistic here. But since we're here, let's try out Kevin's radio.
Back home, think of
is KSUM Country.
Renewal by Anderson Windows and Patio Doors by Schmidt Siding and Window. Schmidt Siding and Window is the greater Mankato area's exclusive provider of Renewal by Anderson Windows and Patio Doors. Renewal by Anderson, the nation's largest full-service window replacement company, and your locally voted best window provider, Schmidt Siding and Window Company, have worked in partnership for 25 years.
Become a part of the Lakeview Methodist Health Services family, a campus built on hope, heart, and healing. Lakeview is a place in the community for future generations. Choosing a career in healthcare services and will instantly better each and every day. Call 507-235-6606 or apply online at lakeviewmethodist.org.
Well, I got stereo in fits and starts on the Ando here, but yeah, I think I'm gonna call this a success. I've kind of jumped back and forth here, and I think we have a winner. So with that, I'm going to break. I'm going to get something to eat and maybe try and do a little thrifting. Try and spin off a second video out of this trip. Well, I made it to the dock of the bay. I think there's an Otis Redding reference in there. But I forgot my fishing pole, which is just as well because I don't think it's legal to fish here. Although there are some boats. Pretty sure I looked at those last year. But yeah, I didn't quite make it this close last year. Actually, this park's a lot more empty than it was last year. Motorcycle notwithstanding. I don't know. Haven't eaten yet. Maybe, I don't know. Something vegetarian. After a kind of burnt BLT and a mostly successful bit of thrifting, it was time to head north to Mankato. Officially about an hour away, but it took me more like 90 minutes to get there. Why Mankato, you might ask? One, the hotel choices are kind of limited in Fairmont, and two, more potential thrifting in Mankato. Anyway, let's head to the hotel. And yes, it's the same one as last year. Okay, well, that's informative. Roadwork, just generically. Didn't say anything about detours, so let's hope for the best. Ooh, there's a thrift store over here. I'll have to remember that. Well, that's it. I was so close to having eat, though. Oh well. Knew my name too. It's a little dystopian. I mean, I know it's in the system and all, but still, it's not really comforting. I don't find it comforting, at least. Alright. And suddenly, magically, I've kicked over to my good camera and microphone, and a slightly surreal-looking shot, I guess. Let's see, what kind of view have we got? Ooh, a roof. What, no rooftop pool? No rooftop garden? Just kind of a view of the Fleet Farm out there, which my camera can't seem to handle, the orange roofed thing. This is a nice place, although it kind of irked me last year. They don't have clocks anymore. So you just have to keep your phone by your bedside, I guess, and, you know, kick it on every time you want to know what time it is. That's real helpful. Oh, and by the way, yeah, I know there's only one of me, but it was, for some stupid reason, $15 for the room with 2 beds, $15 less, that is. That would have really been a deal. Well, I'm usually kind of the king of the farmer's tan, but yeah, I burned this time. I don't normally do that. Must be date night again. Or it's just close to the hotel and I'm not feeling that ambitious. And more elevators need emergency Emerson, Lake and Palmer. But even better than that is that about 2 hours, more like 4 hours ago, I've lost my sense of time. I was talking to one of the people at WXYG in Sauk Rapids, which is just adjacent to St. Cloud. And it looks like, I don't know if I'm going to get the camera in there, be able to do, a look at the transmitter or anything, but at the very least I can talk to them and see what they have to say about their setup and all that good stuff. So I guess you could say I'm a bit excited. It's nice to have something kind of half functioning for a change.
You just don't have the demand, and that's what.
After filling up and emptying out at an especially dodgy gas station in North Mankato, it was time to head off to Sauk Rapids, about 120 miles north, to do the second and final round of field recording tests. Of course, my POS GPS decided I needed to go through west suburban Minneapolis to get there, and I was too far into the trip to try and divert back to the country roads before I noticed, costing me a would-be thrifting stop in Hutchinson in the process. So I just had to grit my teeth through it. In the name of keeping this episode from getting foul-mouthed, or willfully doxing any of those rotten I-94 drivers, I didn't shoot any footage through that part. Enjoy these more relatively peaceful parts. Well, I got my Lewis bag in tow, of course, and I just messed up my own shot. And I also have special guests, some incredibly stupid children playing on the rocks in high water in the background, foul-mouthed ones at that. So you might hear certain things occasionally in the background, hopefully not. Anyway, we are back at the municipal park in Sauk Rapids, and I think I'm in the same seat too, come to think of it. And even though it looks like I'm going to be visiting WXYG tomorrow, I figured I'd do some field tests anyway, and of course we'll give the radio that V West Live sent in another shot as well here. So anyway, I will swap over to the field recorder and we'll get going.
I'm Al. I'm just popping in because Tuesdays are one of the days out of the week that we do the Beaver Track, Tuesdays and Fridays. And yet, this morning on my show, I just forgot because we've been doing the A to Z, and then we had the record revival at Beaver Island last Saturday. So, I don't know, it just got pushed out of my brain. So, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to offer up the Beaver Track this time as a Beaver Island Brewing trivia question.
Radio station. It's a mission. The GOAT. Album Rock, WXYG.
Gilliland makes a difference.
With 10,000 lakes, over 1,300 miles of hiking trails, breathtaking views, and unique roadside attractions, Minnesota is one of the best places to enjoy summertime. Whether you're looking for towing capacity to haul your camper or boat, fuel economy for your next road trip,
At Buyer Built, it's not just a job. You are opening a door to a new career once you join our talented and dedicated team. Buyer Built can not only help you open the door to a new career, but the open road as well. Buyer Built is looking for over-the-road and route drivers.
Before you slip into
Summertime on the deck at the Ultimate Sports Bar and Grill is, well, the ultimate eating and drinking experience. The food's awesome, the drink's cold and delicious, the TVs are tuned to the best in sports programming, and there's live music on selected nights to boot. Anytime is a great time for the Ultimate Sports Bar and Grill in beautiful downtown Wade Park, where the action's always on tap.
Ultimate Sports Bar and Grill. Ultimate. Where the action's always on tap.
The Ultimate Sports Bar, Wade Park. We don't play the same 200 songs over and over and over again. Deep and wide. The GOAT. Album Rock, WXYG.
Ragman draws circles up and down the block. Oh, mama, can this really be the end? With 20 pounds of headlines, said not even you can hide it. You see, you're just like me, stuck inside of Mobile with the Memphis Blues again. Hard way to go.
All right, I think I've got enough footage now. Unfortunately, the radio that Kevin sent me, V West Life, is just not functioning. And I think we're within a mile or two of WXYG, so, and that it was locked in, but I couldn't quite fudge the headphone jack on that thing to make it work quite right. But I have some, I think, definitive stereo, AM stereo footage for you here, c-quam. And it took forever to get some, not just commercials, but commercials with discernible stereos. I've been sitting here for over an hour now. But I think we're good, and I think I'm going to get out of here before those stupid kids get washed away in the rapids. I don't want to be here for that. So no walk along the lake this time, unfortunately. So it's off to the hotel I go. Oh, Van Morrison. Anyway, I am absolutely burned now. I'm quite possibly the most of a lobster, so to speak, that I've ever been. So I'm definitely ready to head to the hotel now. Now, I came in towards the end of this epic Van Morrison song, so I can't try and outrun the song to the hotel. But, yeah, whatever. So I think I'm in the same spot that I was in last year at the same park. Huh. I just came here because I knew there was some hopefully decent area to work in, a little more packed than I would have liked today. But yeah, I think I've got my footage here, so let's head off to the hotel. Sorry, Kansas. Well, there's like 6 parking spots for the hotel, unless you have access to the parking garage, so I guess I'm gonna have to just park here at this restaurant next door and waltz on in. Yeah, there was no point in me trying to outrun any songs. Thwarted by construction again. Highway 23, of course, which is the road home, so that really enthuses me as to what the trip home is gonna be like. But whatever, I'm here. I'm ready to check in and cool off a little. Well, even though I'm paying a little more for the room at the same hotel this year, this one's a bit smaller. I can barely spread my arms out, and the bathroom is truly tiny. So tiny that I can't fit in there with the camcorder. I'm only half joking with that, but I'm kind of set up, and I got a late enough start, so to speak. That's 8:54 p.m. That yeah, we're kind of getting to the end of the day here, but at the same time I'm feeling pretty good tonight. So if all goes according to plan, tomorrow I'm going to be visiting WXYG, the station we were listening to earlier. I think I mentioned that. And hopefully we get to learn a little about their setup. I don't know if they're going to let me bring in a camera or not, but at the very least, hopefully I get to chat with them for a while and try and report back to some degree. But otherwise, I had to really mess around with the TV, but I brought my Roku because I didn't want to deal with anything on network TV, so I got a Riff Tracks going. I'm not even really watching it. I got another that I'll start, but yeah, I was just trying to get some degree of settled. I don't know, maybe I'll do the sophisticated thing and fill up the ice bucket.
You just don't have the demand, and that's what.
Well, according to my GPS, this place doesn't even exist. This might just all be a fever dream, but we are here at the home of WXYG 540 AM stereo, and admittedly I'm shooting this after the fact, But I had a bit of a revelation talking to the engineer here. The whole reason behind putting in c-quam here wasn't because it was trendy. It wasn't an 80s thing. It was about propagation and frequency response, and just kind of fudging with the signal a bit. So it's kind of surprising. So it never really was even intended as a gimmick here. I'm just taking a walk now. But yeah, today I learned that AM stereo wasn't always meant just because it was, you know, a cool, seemingly logical step forward for AM radio.
Yeah. So this is the home of Tri-County Broadcasting, which has been in business since 1963, and we call this place the Red House That Rocks. Now, if you were to look behind the building, let's come over here. Behind the building are two 500-foot towers. And although the towers are almost identical, you can see that there are differences in the things that are mounted on the towers. So the one to the right is a radio tower, and that emanates the signal of WHMH, that's Rockin' 101, a 50,000 watt FM rock signal. It also has the bays, they're called, which emanate the FM translator signals for our AM stations, including WXYG, the GOAT, the station that I program. So from that tower emanates the signals for all 6 stations, although 5 of them, or pardon me, 4 of them are AM stations which emanate from a different tower field. Anyway, that's the most important radio tower that we have here. Now this tower over here is not a radio tower. It could be, but that's a communication tower. So the Hoppe family, one of the brothers went into cell phone towers when cell phones started to become a big deal, and he became quite successful with that. But now most of his tower rental is for government contracts. So that's police, fire, and perhaps FBI, CIA, NSA. And every once in a while, I swear to goodness, guys show up in a black SUV with tinted windows, and they kind of look like those guys. And we've just been told not to talk to them. Let them do what they want.
All right, now before I split here, and I will spin off that little history lesson with Al into its own, non-monetized video, I just wanted to get a quick shot of the shack and the primary tower going way up. And then, of course, the one that's sending material elsewhere, so to speak. I was out at that main site. Obviously, it's not... I took a couple of stills. The main engineer allowed me to take some stills, but no video. So I do have those. I'm not sure where they're going to wind up in the final product here. But... yeah. I feel like I've kind of redeemed myself from last year's video. So anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. I leave for home tomorrow morning. And yeah. Tri-County Broadcasting, home of WXYG, opened in 1963. In the name of getting the most bang for his buck, founder Herbert M. Hoppe deliberately built what became the Red House, as it's known, which we visited, and its main transmitter on swampland, because it somehow helps carry a signal farther. On that note, as best as I could gather, sometime in the mid-80s, the c-quam equipment was installed primarily to give their lowest frequency AM music station a little extra help in propagation. The frequency response boost, in this case up to about 8 kilohertz as opposed to the more common 4 kilohertz, and the stereo sound were really just nice bonuses. Unsurprisingly, when WXYG at 5:40 a.m. launched in 2011, its mostly 60s and 70s rock format and the nice wide stereo images of most rock music from that period made it a prime candidate for the c-quam gear, and as such, it got it. As it turns out, the propagation tricks work beautifully. WXYG proper carries only 850 watts of power during the day and only 250 at night. Rather amusingly, the station often cheekily touts in its bumpers and IDs that WXYG carries 850,000 microwatts of power. Anyway, I had my car radio alternately parked on WXYG's AM and primary FM signals during my 2-ish days in town. I was able to clearly pick up WXYG throughout the St. Cloud area. Even the weaker FM signal was just fine wherever I was. On a similar note, I had a bit of a revelation talking to the son of Herbert M. Hoppy, Gary Hoppy, who has fairly recently become Tri-County's chief engineer. Even though I've had my ham radio training and such and should really know this, it still hit me right between the eyes when he noted that the lower on the AM dial a station is, the less power it needs for the station's signal. While AM stereo would sound far better in the upper range of the AM band, as in why the KSUM signal had a better frequency response and better stereo separation, it would take that much more power to get that signal the same distance, further reinforcing my statement that the extra frequency response and the stereo audio were just a nice bonus.
But, they're still there, they're still maintaining it, and I may have caught WXYG at the end of its run on its current frequency. When I was there, they kind of had an impromptu staff meeting about swapping frequencies of some of these 6 stations. But anyway, I've got footage of, audio footage of everything. The engineer drove me out to the transmitter site, and obviously I couldn't shoot anything there, and he drove, as I said, so I couldn't stay there and do a full-blown recording test because he wanted to cut out for the day. It was like 5:30, 6 o'clock, so just in the last 4 hours here.
You just don't have the demand, and that's what...
Please indulge me as I shift gears, so to speak, over this footage of the trip home. Take a little detour over some literal detours. Anyway, growing up in Denver, or beautiful downtown Aurora, I seemed to get the last of the old hippie underground radio DJs on the classic rock stations, giving me my first exposure to more than just that uppermost tier of 60s to 80s rock artists, and kind of putting me on my own path for the next several years, and in some ways I'm kind of still on that path now. Well, as it turned out, Al Neff, who of course we met at WXYG, was one of those DJs that I grew up with, and I didn't even realize it. He had worked at 99.5 The Mountain in Denver right at the time I was starting to really get into music, and for some time thereafter. After chatting a while, we seemed to vaguely recognize each other. I, for one, am convinced that we crossed paths at some point during the height of my own days in the Denver music scene in the mid-2000s. And as it turns out, Al's show, Into the Music, still airs on what's left of The Mountain as of my making this, and of course WXYG and a few other stations throughout the country. So even if this little spiel of mine has nothing whatsoever to do with AM stereo, yeah, I just had to note that it felt great to be able to thank one of those old hippie DJs for, again, kind of setting me on my path. Anyway, that's it for today's archive. Next week, we'll finish up the Minnesota material with a thrifting episode I shot on this trip. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of the ride home. Well, stick that in your pipestone and smoke it. And there we are. Minnehaha County, and there's the state sign.
Broken bricks,